Why wild running? Because it's awesome. Because when you're out there, let's say you're doing 5, 10, 15 miles a day, even if you're just doing two, but you're going through palm trees, you're going through palmetto, you're going through swamp, you're going through forest, pine forest, wherever you are in Florida, whether you're in Everglades, out on the beach, let's say through like palm jungle, you're seeing cool stuff, you're seeing animals, you feel alive. It's something where you feel almost primal because it's something that you don't need all this gear, you don't need all this preparation. You can just go out there and do it. Just do it. And it's something that many people don't do. Obviously, there's trail running, there's hiking, but the idea of where you go out and run, and obviously to make sure you have somewhat fitness to do this, but because be out in the heat, you can be out in the wilderness, so you need to be ready. And that's what makes it exciting. Is you're out there. You're not just on a hike. You're not packed down with all this gear. You're on a run. You're running through where people can hike, decent trails like that. You're seeing wildlife. You have to be conscientious of your whereabouts. You have to know your water supply. Plan out where you could drop a water bottle when you return. Get some water. So it's a lot more of a taking at that kind of like a hike, that trek adventure type of it. Remove all that gear and you're running. So it's very eventful. It's very exciting. You'll run into, I've run into boar, alligator, snakes, all types of birds, tons of cool stuff. Even when I'm running into the ocean, seeing a bunch of stuff there, dolphins, turtles, and then you can jump in and, to cool down. So it's really something that's pretty cool. It's something that is, because trail running is popular, but when you look at the trail running, obviously it's very cool, respect it, but its main thing is it's not so much about looking for wildlife or being conscientious of wildlife or going to an area just to see wildlife, as opposed to just a way to maintain fitness, a way to run and have a softer surface for your joints. But for sure, wild running, can be adventurous, it can be dangerous, but it is cool. It's awesome. Just think, I've now done several weeks, and that's the plan is do 100 miles a week, and most of it is like out there. There's sometimes where it's a late time, I have to get in a run, and it's on a sidewalk, it's on the road, and I hate it. But when I'm out there in the wild, whether it's like a wilderness area, a natural park, natural area, or just some sort of reserve, or the waste management districts here in Florida, which are essentially large constructed filter swamps, if you put it that way, that filter in water from the city, from the urban areas, from wherever, that filter it naturally. There's a bunch of native plants in there, whatever. You see alligators, tons of birds, and it's a big area. They can be, 5 by 10 miles wide, big areas, and that precedes the Everglades. So it's like a barrier of filtration. So there's tons of different areas. Very cool. My favorite experiences have just when I'm out there running, for sure, seeing tons of wildlife, and probably the close calls have been with boar, wild feral pigs, because they can charge. I've only had two times that they've charged. One was it was coming out of the trap, and this was at night. And I'd run by the trap and it was empty before, but I was running my way back, and it was full. But I didn't realize something was in it until the last minute. Unfortunately, it turned right opposite of me as I was running by. If it had turned left, we would have had a bit of a problem. So, and then I ran up this dirt mound that was there. Waited a little bit. It was more scary probably than I was. I wasn't scared, but and then another time it was actually just charged right at me. Actually, the same area. So this area actually sometimes they'll even, especially if it's towards evening or based on, is another fun fact, especially in Florida, or this will happen in whatever state you're in, is when you're wild running, you actually notice the different patterns of seasonality, what things change, what animals move in, move out. So like when it's a lot more, I want to say, when it's a lot more dry, the boar will be more, there'll be more areas for them to cover because they're hoofed animals. Yes, they are in swamps and stuff, but they still need some surface to get around. So when it's super wet out, they're more limited to the area. And that's when we have things like they go on the roads more, they get in accidents. But so I can notice this was a much drier part of the year. This was several months ago in the dry season of Florida, which you'll notice when you're running and stuff like that. And Just turn the corner here, like some oinking, some like just rustling, and obviously I knew it was a boar. I could hear it. You know, nothing else out there was gonna make that noise. And then I ran by, and I was like keeping my eyes on where the sound had come, made a wide circumference, and I just saw this, big brown just boar come out, and it wasn't really that big, but in that moment you're like, oh my gosh, and just put my arms up and just yelled at it, and that helps a lot. That clearly got away. He perceived me as a bigger threat. Could have been a female, I don't know, but most likely it was either just startled, it felt cornered, or if it did have piglets nearby, it would have been uh, trying to protect them, or at least get me out of the way so they can get to a safe area. So it's definitely an adventure, definitely a lot of fun. You run into all sorts of people. Well, let's put it this way: when you do run into people, they're usually a character, because if you're out in the way back there, and not like it's not safe or whatever, but if you find someone else who's that inclined to be out in the wild, they're going to probably be interesting. So that's always fun. But definitely a cool way. You're running when you're just, especially when you just get into that rhythm, and it's a great way to maintain fitness, no doubt. But when you're running, especially if you're doing a barefoot run in some areas, you feel a lot more, it's much less of a, let me get my hour of fitness in so I can be healthy, blah, blah, blah. Which we should look at it more of how are we unhealthy than what are we just healthy. Because if we should just be healthy, and how many degrees are we away from that? But essentially, instead of just thinking of it as a, well, here we go, let's do a run, blah blah blah, part of the day. It's, I'm gonna go trek this area. I'm gonna dominate that area. Gonna see what wildlife is out there. I'm gonna make it back. Hopefully, there's some cool stuff. I've got Leatherman on. I've got bandage, wrapped bandage just in case. I've got tissues. I've got water. I know where I'm going. I've planned the route. If I haven't been there before, that's even more of a, I got to be conscientious of my footing, what's around me, because there's several times where, the injury I got was in a new area, and part of my fault for getting that was not paying enough attention in this new area. And then you'll see things, run by an alligator, or you won't notice it till later, and usually they're more likely not to strike at you, but you don't want to take that risk too often. So it's a lot more of a adventure, especially when you're out there. And there's areas you can go, there's back roads, dirt roads I can go that are in these wild areas, but they're not, I'm not really gonna have to worry about footing. Maybe some potholes here or there, keep an eye on that, but it's a maintained road by the park or the wildlife management districts, and it's closed to the public. Like, you can bike for cars at least, but it's something, there's areas like that where you can go. You're just going for a nice long run. Yes, there's still wildlife. I've just miles down from where I am right now in West Palm. There's a dirt road that I like to go at night a lot, but even there, like at night, it's a nice stretch. You're not really worrying about loose footing. You're not really worrying about an alligator coming out. They'll still be there. Alligators do walk on land and do traverse. But remember just seeing on my right, kind of scanning, kind of headlight, could just see some eyes, and I could tell it was the outline of a pig. But fortunately, it was right across from me. So I was running, he was right over there. My best guess, he was out getting water because there's a canal there, just feeding, whatever. And then unfortunately, probably just was like, hey, like, I'm out here, he's out here, like, I don't know what that is over there, but it's moving, not really presenting a threat to me. It's not running at me, but I'm getting out of the way. So it just kind of trotted, it made a circumference towards back around me, and then went into the tree line. So you'll see stuff no matter what time of day, when it is, and it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And that's why I like wild running. That's why I'm calling it wild running. You're running in the wild. Let's say you're running wild, and it's something, because at the end of the day, it's not like it's magical or whatever, has creative power, whatever, it's too many people believe in rocks and crystals and all that nowadays, but it's something where, like, you are at your almost primal state. You're running, especially if you get into the barefoot running part of it, which that you have to be careful, because if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're running barefoot and something does happen, that could be a big problem. Or obviously there's one less layer of protection if there's snakes or reptiles, or you go in mud and there's something. But anyhow, usually it's fine. But it's so much more primal.